Hello, video on demand people. The best people. I am tired. I don't think that's going to work, actually, because it didn't convert my thing to the other thing. Well, it looks right. Yeah, it's right. Okay, fair enough. Hey, what is up, everybody? Hello. Hello. Matt here. Let me let the modulators know. Unless they're until I... Oh, Durock already did that. Thank you, Durock. Rock and roll. Oh, my goodness. Don't know what's on you folks' mind, but I got about an hour before I got to head out. And I'm probably not going to be... I don't know what an augmented reality game thing again is. What was the last one? Hello, hi, welcome. Hey, hi. What's up, Mr. Shine? What did Mr. Shine say that caused Moobot to freak out? You are not a video on demand person. Finally, it's the first time for everything, except for the first time when there's no first time for something. The set of all sets that contain themselves as a set. Bad Charm number 1. Not a lot of number 1s left, but Bad Charm is one of them. What's up? Happy Friday, folks. We made it to Friday. What's up, Alex August? Hey, I saw your message, Mr. Shine, because even though Moobot deleted it, I have power. I have the power to reveal deleted messages, at least to myself, and no one else. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, spraining your shoulder sucks balls. Don't do that. Oh, this is Colin Benders, legendary Eurorack jam dude. He has tons of really, really good. He did like hours and hours of amazing jams during lockdown. But his rack is huge. Oh, interesting. The in-game Connect 4 game, the players lost, and now the town is under attack. That's in Rise Heroes Rise, right? That's awesome. Oh, cool, Ambi Navy. My Friday's going pretty well, actually. Yeah, Jordy's in town because we have our in-service week next week. He got here a little bit early, so he and our general manager and I went to lunch, and then we went for a hike, somewhat unplanned, impromptu, and went basically until I was like, "This is a lot. This is a lot," because it was like a real, not just a walk, actually up into the mountains, into the foothills, which is beautiful. But yeah, I wasn't wearing shorts. I wasn't wearing my hiking shoes. I was just wearing my boots, my work boots. So I'm a little fried. But we got the first draft of the laid out ancestry section from our layout artist, Chris Hopper. And so now we're looking at now for the first time we can see how much space is. We want each entry, we want each ancestry to be a 2-page spread, art over here, and that means since different ancestries contain more or fewer special abilities, and even with the same number of special abilities, some of those ancestral special abilities are just you get +1 to this. Some of them are an ability with a power roll. Well, that means the narrative text that is the bulk of that spread needs to be shorter or longer depending on that, and there was no real way to see it all and know. So only today were we able to go through and go, okay, we need to cut this, we need to expand this. In fact, what was it? I got the list. The Devil, both the Elves and the Polder are fine. The Dragon Knight entry, we need to cut a few lines. The Hakan, even fewer lines. The Time Raider, we need to cut a big chunk of. But actually, I don't think we do because it's the last one. So it can overflow onto the next spread, and then that's just you turn that over and it's the next section of the book, which is probably fine. Maybe we'll get some art to fill that. Probably not. But if we do. So the real things I have to fuck with is I want to redo the dwarf entry because it was the first one I wrote. And I don't know who the speaker is or who they're talking to. So I'm probably going to turn that into something like a scene between two characters, an old dwarf and a young dwarf. And I need to add about 350 words to that section to fill it out. That's about right. Humans, I need to flesh out a little bit. And the human entry that you who are backers or patrons have read is cut down from a longer version. So I'm just going to go into Google Docs and look at the history and be like, roll back to when I was fulsome in my powers and I had written a whole bunch of stuff. See how long that is. So rescue some of the cut stuff that you folks haven't read. Memenek, I think I'm probably going to rewrite that section because I know a lot more about who our iconic heroes are. Like Sir John's in there, but I wasn't even sure that Sir John was the iconic tactician. This was just a scene. It was just a scene with characters. So he talks about a mage, but it's not Embers. Right? So I got to revise that. And then I got to think, well, is Count Revile, who is that guy? Is this the right thing to be saying about a Memenek? Because I don't think names work that way. But I still think his ship might be called the Revile. And it might be that among the Memenek, your being a noble means I own a ship. And so instead of being I'm the Baron of Bedegar, you are the Baron of this ship. That's possible. So I'm going to have to revise the Memenek one. I think that the thrust of it's going to be essentially the same. But revise who the characters are and maybe add a little bit of a scenario to it. Because like he talks about John like they've been friends for a long time. I don't think that's true. That's going to get cut. That's going to get revised. I think they just met. Right? Because I don't think that there isn't an iconic Memenek yet. And I think a lot of that Count Revile Sir John relationship ended up being the relationship between him and Vanta Calisax. Vanta Calisax is one of the iconic heroes. There is no iconic Memenek yet. Because iconics belong to a class, and we have more ancestries than classes. And I'm going to throw out the orc fiction and write something new. Oh, awesome, Lore Bard. I'm glad you have a good time. Do we have plans to add new ancestries? Yeah, absolutely we do. We're already working on them. In fact, I suggested we're talking a lot, and that's going to be a big topic of discussion next week when we're all here in person about the schedule of Drawsteel for the next 3 years. Let's say. Does that sound interesting? I'm really happy with it, Chris Hopper. I genuinely think the book looks gorgeous. But one of the reasons I think that is because of how tasteful I think it is. It doesn't look like a fantasy RPG if you just look at a random page, right? We didn't throw in a bunch of like, it should look like papyrus or something, or it should have a parchment texture on the background, and let's have all this filigree and everything. Like, no, it doesn't. I think the art and the text sells the fact that this is a fantasy world. We're not trying, and at the end of the day, our attitude is, and this is somewhat unorthodox, our attitude is an RPG book is a reference manual. It is not a novel that you read. It's not an art book that sits on your couch that on your coffee table that impresses your guests with how much class you have. Its job is to be able to make it easy to find the rule you need when you need to read it, when you need it. That's it. So let's get all that other stuff out of the way. And the result is actually something that reminds me a little bit of a book I worked on in another lifetime, the Star Trek original series role-playing game by Last Unicorn Games, which I think it won an award for best graphic design. Because we told our graphic designer / layout artist we want it to look like a book from the 1960s, right? So this book looks a lot like that. I think Grace Under Pressure. Yeah, I think Grace Under Pressure might be my favorite Rush album, at least right now. That might change in a couple of years. So now you'd have to know what that original series books look like, that original series RPG looks like, in order to understand why I think our layout is really pretty. Smitten Mitten Kitten. I'm not an artist or a graphic designer. I can't really tell you. It has to do with various art styles that if you're an art student, you're like, oh, you want like this and not like that. It does change all the time. Epizarwin, like Counterparts was my favorite album for years. What's this? This sounds like it started in the middle. It did. So we're talking about future products, and there was a point yesterday when I made a list of future products, and I was like, Jordy, who's one of our designers, I was like, it's a good question. Loco may do. I'll answer it in a second, I hope, if I'm smart. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. Sword and Sleuth. It's really good. It's so good. It's really making me want to. It makes me want to. For me, the power of the fantasy of Ix, which is this big island chain in Orden that is Mesoamerica with it's fantasy Mesoamerica, is what would the Mayans and the Nahuatl people be like now in the 21st century, if when the conquistadors showed up, these guys had magic, like real magic, right? Well, shit would be real different. They probably wouldn't have gotten conquered, for one thing, right? So what would that, and the things are going to develop. So to give those people, but now I can't do that. I could be in a meeting. I could be in a meeting about that, and I could contribute by saying it should fit in this box, but we would need somebody who sort of authentically knew about that space. Doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from that space. That's very that is so tricky. You might as well throw that idea out, right? Because it's like, well, hard enough to find somebody in the RPG space that actually authentically knows a lot about this, but then they are also a person from that culture. So you gotta pick your battles. But we're not in any danger of doing something like that anytime soon anyway. So that's not something I have to worry about. When did I first get into synths? That's a good question. Mods, do me a favor if you can. When I say good question, just for right now, tag me with it in the live, the one live stream channel specifically for communicating with Matt. So I put the list of products, I put the list of products that we want to crowdfund, and that's not the list of products. That's a subset of the list of products. And it's a couple of box sets and it's a couple of hardcover books. And I said, Jordy, I want you to rate these in order of which are you most excited by? And he was like, excited like, I'm like, no, don't, it's up to you to interpret that. Excited to work on, excited to play in, I don't care. It's up to you. Which are you the most excited by? And he went, nerd. I went, yep, that's my list. That's my numbering too. And then our general manager said, but how would you now put another set of numbers next to it based on how you think which of these would be the best at acquiring new customers? So let's imagine you're not a Draw Steel customer yet. What's the product that we could make that makes you go, oh, what the fuck is that? We're like, oh, that's this one thing. Like, is that what game is that for? We're like, that's for Draw Steel. Like, well, I guess I need to get Draw Steel. And Jordy looked at the board and he went, I think it's the same list. And our general manager's like, good. And so I slept on it. And it was, not entirely unrelated to a lot of the conversations happening in the Discord, where I was like, I don't think we can do that though. Yes, I am the most excited by that thing there. But I think we have to do this. I think we have to make sure that year one is these products, because Draw Steel is not the Vasloria RPG. But it references Vasloria and Orden all over the place. As a result, people have a lot of questions. The kinds of questions that would only be answered by a Vasloria product. So even though this is kind of the most, medieval fantasy bog standard stuff, it's not a question of do it or not do it. Nope, it's just a question of do it in the next 9 months or the next 9 months after that. And I was like, well, I think we just bite the bullet and we do it. We say we dance with the girl we brung. And that is probably going to prove out. But the reason I bring all this up is because we had a meeting today about Willie did a first draft of the Raiden White Ancestry and the Goblin Ancestry. They are very good. I had very little feedback. And he was very assiduous in trying to, he's like, is there anything just now that, I checked all the boxes. Are there any boxes we didn't think about that should be in here? I'm like, that's a good question. And we came up with a couple of cool ideas. And it's a very fertile area. I think we're really close to a finished draft of those things. No idea when you folks are going to see those. Nothing stopping us from putting it on the Patreon, but we'll probably put it in front of the testers first, that normal thing. So it'll happen in due course, in ordinary course. That stuff will end up on the Patreon, but not in the next couple of days. And I had already thought this. But since we're having a meeting about it anyway, I brought it up. I said I absolutely think that we could have a core book, probably book 5, if Heroes is book 1, Monsters is book 2, book 3 is Encounters, book 4 is Politics. There might be a better name for it. Organizations might be a better name for it, because politics is just a manner in which organizations manage themselves, and diplomacy is the way they interact and stuff like that. So maybe it's book 4 Organizations, but it's strongholds and warfare and stuff like that. I absolutely think we could just do